Welcome back to another edition of Real Recognizes Real, where I am your host, College Cottrell, and this week we got a fun one. I feel like we've had a lot of players on the offensive side of the ball so far, and we're gonna kind of keep that thing rolling. And this is a prospect that's been a blast to kind of follow throughout this process here. Obviously, we've had Coach Spadero in earlier episodes here this season talk about how he used to be a player for him at Valdosta State. And then actually getting to see this guy at the combine, see him go crazy at the Senior Bowl there as well. It's just been a very interesting prospect to follow here, and I had a great time, just kind of breaking down his tape here because I think he can actually be a really productive receiver. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Georgia State's Ted Hurst's film study here. And we're going to start off like we always do, and that's going to be with our pros and cons list. And the first thing that kind of stands out for you with Ted right away is his strong hands. He led the FBS with 23 contested catches in 2025. And that's one of the things that you kind of see on film, right? Those 50-50 balls don't ever truly feel like 50-50 when you're throwing them up towards Ted because it feels like, I'd say 7 times out of 10, he's going to bring the ball down. So you absolutely love his ability to go up and make those strong catches in those situations. The second thing that really, stands out to me on film is his feel for the game. He really understands how to find those soft spots in the zones and either finds ways to sit in that zone or he has the ability offline of scrimmage to kind of see what coverages defenses are in and just run right to that spot. And the quarterback does a great job, a lot of times of catching him in stride and gives him the ability to run after the catch there. And then the last thing for me, I think this goes really hand in hand with those strong hands, that we were talking about earlier, and that's his ability to track the football. To me, I think he's exceptional at finding the ball in the air and not just finding the ball and making the tough catches, but he makes the adjustments to put himself in a position to be successful a ton of the time there. I got to see that firsthand at the combine. He made an excellent catch. I believe it was a ball from Carson Beck, but absolutely excellent adjustment there. And we got a couple of plays that, in the film study where you actually get to see him making some adjustments to balls that were either underthrown or he really didn't have a great angle at it. But he put himself in a position to go out there and make a play. Now, just kind of thinking about some of the cons, right? So, one of the cons that I have here is that, as a receiver for him, blocking, his run blocking is really non-existent. So I hardly ever seen him even, attempt to block cornerbacks out there. Now that's not to say that he didn't try to go occupy him or do things like that, but there was many times where he would maybe fake as if he was running a route, or he'd just run right up to the DB and not really put hands on him or do anything. But that was one of the things that I noticed there. Another thing that's obviously not listed here in the pros and cons list, but just something I do want to mention. Elephant in the room here is that yes, he did go to Georgia State there, and you kind of wonder, like, hey, what was his production like against some of the big time corners and things like that? Like, is he a merchant of being at a small school and having this physical presence and just kind of special ability and eating at the small school? I don't think that's the case, but definitely something I wanted to mention here that I clearly like just didn't add in here. And then the last thing really with him was he was kind of inconsistent here in 2025. 7 drops, that feels very out of character for him, but I don't think it was a situation where it was like to me it wasn't anything that was alarming, right? So there'd be drops, random drops, it'd be like a 2nd and 8, easy slant, and he drops it, which obviously it's frustrating, but it wasn't like he was out there, costing his team the game and things like that. So it's noticeable, and you saw it on film. I think that could very well be coached out of him or just taken away there with additional reps. But something I definitely wanted to spotlight though, with him. And then that's going to lead right on into our player comparison. And I absolutely love this one. For me, watching Ted's film, it reminds me so much of George Pickens coming out of Georgia there. Obviously, you see the two here, very similar frames, 6'4", 6'3", 206, 195 there. And then their athletic traits there, Ted even edges out, what George was able to do at the combine there. You see the 36.5-inch vertical for Ted and the 4.42 and the 40. And, I think the biggest part of this that reminds me of Pickens is not just him making those contested catches, but how he does it, right? So you would often, see times where it feels like George is making those catches that you just absolutely can't believe, whether it be on the sideline. I think about the one-handed catch that he had while he was still in Pittsburgh against Cleveland. And, I think Ted has a lot of that ability there, in him. And I think that's a big reason why he led the FBS level with those contested catches this past season. So for me, I think, very similar to George here, you're going to probably get Ted on day two, but I think he could step in right away for you and, compete as that wide receiver two, probably originally there, but can definitely work his way up and has the potential to be a true number one threat there for a team. I think if you can get that value in the second or third round, or maybe even potentially early fourth round there, you'd be very happy with that production. But with that said, here let's go ahead and go into our three film sessions here that we have for Ted. The three games that we got are going to be Murray State, Old Dominion, and who's the third one? South Alabama is the third game there. So we will start off with the game against Murray State, where Ted absolutely dominated in this game, and as he should. I mean, he was the best player on the field, and he definitely showed it. So we will start off here where I have this kind of charted as the 50-50 ball. You see him one-on-one here on the outside, and do apologize for the film quality. Again, you guys got to remember this is tape from the American Conference here, so may not be as crystal clear as what we saw with Carnell Tate earlier, or Eli Stowers earlier. So kind of bear with me, but you get the gist of what's happening here in the film. So top of the screen here again, we're in the red zone. You got Ted Hurst lined up one-on-one with the corner. This is a fourth down moment. It's 4th and 1 from the goal line. Gotta have it here. And Georgia State dials up a play that goes right to Ted. So we'll go ahead and let the film roll here. And you see there was never an option of anywhere else where this ball was going. You put it back towards the pylon. You say, Ted, we're putting it up there in the space for you to just go up and go get it. And that's absolutely what he does. I don't think you get a chance to truly see it from the end zone view here. So we'll just play it back from the overhead view here. So again, you see right off the snap here, right away, 50-50 ball. You're throwing it up top, highest possible. Ted, go get it. He brings it down. That's a touchdown for Georgia State there. Now we'll move on to 10-12 in this one, where we see a little bit of Ted showing off his release ability there. So bottom of the screen here, lined up again, one-on-one with the corner here, and I believe he's just going to release right past him there. Corner doesn't get hands on. Ted does a great job of looking over his shoulder late and shooting the hands late. Corner really never has an opportunity to make a play on the ball there. So just right off the snap there, if he's even, he's leaving, and that's exactly what Ted does. He has the step there. Ball is going a little bit more towards the sideline. I think you would like this ball to be upfield, especially knowing that there's no safety over top there. You put it more out up front. This probably should be a touchdown, but again, Ted is able to make the adjustment on the fly there, locates the ball, and I mean the ball is pretty much right there on him, and he hasn't even shot his hands yet. So really has this DB in a position where he can't do anything to make a play on this football there, but hands go up, he gets his feet in bounds, and it's a big play for Georgia State. Now we will move on to 1924 in this matchup here. All right. Believe this is Ted here, bottom of the screen, lined up one-on-one against this corner. And let's see what happens. So boom, gets right by him, has the great release there. And this is more of a back shoulder throw. And he, breaks that tackle there, picks up some additional yardage. And again, I think this shows you his tracking ability, and I think you get a better feel from it from the end zone view here. So they're not pictured there, but it's on the outside. But look where this ball is thrown. He already has his head back, and the corner is stride for stride with him. But again, he's already looking back for the football here and knows what adjustment that he has to make here. So he does a great job of putting himself in a position. makes the catch there, and not just makes the catch, but he breaks that initial tackle and he picks up about 10, 15 more yards there and gets his team in the red zone to put more points up on the board there. Now we will go over to 26-42. This one where he's showing off a little bit of his route running savvy here. Let's see, 26-42. All right, so imagine this is going to be Ted up here at the top there, and let's take a look, see what happens. So gets all the way, and for me, I think this is a great route. Obviously, this corner is playing off coverage there, but I think he does a great job of getting on top of him there and recognizing where the sticks are. Right, so he doesn't just run to the sticks and goes out. He gives himself a cushion to make sure that he's going to be able to pick up this first down here, especially knowing that this is man coverage and the guy's not getting any hands on him. So he knows he has that free release to the outside there. He knows he's going to have plenty of room to work. I think he does a great job and he gives himself plenty of space because if he even needs to work back for this football here, he has the ability to do so and still pick up the first down here. So again, you kind of see play goes to him, easy pitch and catch, first down there. Just great stuff from Ted there. And then we will move on. We only got two more plays left in this one before we go ahead and go to the next game. We'll go to 29-29 here. So this time, Ted's going to be at the bottom of the screen here. And I have this listed as he's sitting in zone coverage. So let's take a look here. I think he actually runs a dig, but let's take a look, see what happens. Yep, so that's exactly what he does here. So this looks like a easy there, easily cover two here. You got your corners sinking, you got your linebacker carrying the middle of the field here, exactly what he's supposed to do when you got the threat going across the middle there. You got the two high safeties there. So this is a clear cover two look, in my opinion. You have this guy clearing out this linebacker here. He's going to keep running with him. And then Ted is smart enough to know that, hey, there is this space here. There's the 5 yard gap here. And I'm going to go right into this window, give my quarterback plenty of room to get me the ball, and I'm gonna, work with it. So, boom, gets the catch there, picks up some additional yards there, and big time play again to put Georgia State in a position to put more points up on the board. Let's take a look at it one more time here. I'll just show it to you in full speed. I know I've been stopping before the play actually kind of develops there. So, bottom of the screen, gets by the DB there, works across the middle, and gives his quarterback plenty of a window to give him the ball there, and he catches it in stride, and again, picks up additional yardage there. Now we'll go last play in this one. It'll be 31-05, where I got it charted as a 50-50 ball. So I believe this is another touchdown pass, but let's see what happens. It might not be. All right. So looks like Ted is actually in the slot this go around. I believe they actually run a corner route here. Um, so let's take a look, see what happens. So, yep, the corner route, not a true 50-50 ball, but it is contested. He goes up, makes the catch, and then he drags the defenders into the end zone there with him. So, again, let's take a look at it one more time here. So, corner route coverage really doesn't matter, in my opinion, on this particular play because it's about, what he's able to do and bring the ball down. So, again, high points it, goes up, breaks off the tackle, two guys on his back. He drags them into the end zone for a touchdown. Just think that's great ability from your number one receiver there. Now let's go ahead and go to the second game in this one. And the second game is going to be against South Alabama. Let's go ahead and pull that up here. Boom. All right. So second game here against South Alabama. And this one, we got them sitting in some zone coverage here. And I'm sure you guys will appreciate how much better this film looks compared to the last game there. But let's go ahead and get it started here. So this is Ted lined up on the inside of this bunch here. So again, I think this is a great ability to understand this guy is underneath him and also understanding in a sense where these other DBs are, like where this safety is. And it's also one thing to point out too, fearless going across the middle there because you throw the hands out and you're just ready to run right away there. No worries about getting hit. And then he has that top end speed to take it the distance and go score on it. So we'll see it again here from the from the end zone view, and I will pause it once he actually gets in screen here where you can kind of get a better feel of what he's doing there. So clearly the play design is to go to him there, but again, I think this is just a good play to not only show off his top end speed ability, but also show that he knows exactly what he needs to do, understanding coverages and things like that to put himself in a position to have success there. So you beat him, you get across him, and then you just take the speed, bad angle, and that's six. You're not catching him from that point. Let's go ahead and go to 13-19. And this is a game where, South Alabama played a ton of zone coverage. So you kind of got to see him work a little bit against the zone, and you got to see his IQ and things like that fully on display in this game, in my opinion. But we'll go here. So I believe this is Ted down here at the bottom. Could be wrong here. He has a very similar frame as another receiver on their team here, but I believe that is him. No, it's actually him in the slot there. So let's go ahead and start it back up here. So he's in the slot there up top. And again, plenty of zone coverage, understanding boom. I sit right here in the zone because this is what they're giving me. Yes, I know the sticks are about 4 yards further back, but that's kind of what they're playing there. So I'm able to sit in the zone, make myself available for my quarterback. Easy pitch and catch here. And then let's see if we can work towards, getting that first down. And ultimately we don't. But I gave my quarterback a window. We'll pick up the easy, cheap 6 yards there and we'll keep it moving. So we'll go ahead and go now to 14-25 here. Let's see where he is. I'd imagine he's out here because he's got the towel. And let's take a look. Yep. Runs that dig again. Across the middle. Picks up the first down. So again, we'll see it here from the end zone view there. So let's take a quick look at it here. No, smart enough to realize, and this is something that's would have been wide open, but clearly this is a concept that they absolutely love at Georgia State here. You got a guy occupying the middle of the field there. Ted is smart enough to realize, like, hey, there is plenty of room right here in the middle of the field here. So open it up, make myself available, and then I'll get some yak, for my troubles here. Now we'll go ahead and go over to 17-13 in this one, where we got some more sitting in the zone coverage there. 17-13. All right, where is he at? He's right here, top of the screen, second receiver. And I think this one was a fourth down, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look here right before the play. Um, let's see. Yep. So this is fourth down. This is 4th and 3. Um, so absolutely gotta have it. You're down 14 in this one. So I do think that matters here. And you know exactly where you need to get to. So boom, gets to the sticks, and again, does a great job of not just getting to the sticks and just stopping right there, but gives himself a little bit of wiggle room just in case he needs to work back to the football. And so exactly what he does. Ball's a little bit behind him, doesn't matter. He's got the catch, picks up the first down there. And again, I think that's just a great job of understanding where he's at there on the field. And we just got two more plays in this one before we move on to our last game here. And this is what I'm going to show you as far as his effort goes in the run game. So you see Ted, he's up top here. Obviously, his assignment here is going to take on this cornerback, and I get it. Receivers aren't always going to be great blockers, but I do think effort can take you a long way, especially when you're coming from a smaller program there, and you're trying to boost your draft stock as much as possible. Would love to see just a little bit more effort there. So turns as if it's like a screenplay and it's coming towards them, but and you'll even see here the running back kind of breaks it out there, and the play is now coming towards him. But Ted just never gets a hand on anyone in that situation, and it ultimately ends up being a loss. Now, it wasn't Ted's assignment that ultimately came down and made the play. But this is just kind of, a little bit of the effort in the run game that I'm referring to, though. So he acts as if it's a screen and it's coming right to him. So you get the cornerback's attention there with that. But as soon as that happens and you see the play coming to you, you should not be watching the play as it's happening. You should still be finding some work here, and especially in this case, you got this DB that's pretty close to you in proximity. No reason why you don't get even a hand, even a finger on him in that situation there. So I would just like to see that cleaned up, once he does get to the next level there. And the last play that I ultimately have here is going to be another 50-50 staple. We were at 33-41. Right. And all right, there we go. Back in the red zone here. Again, they trusted him in the red zone. You got Ted, top of the screen here, towel on. And let's take a look and see what happens. So again, another fade ball. Put it up in the air. Ted, go get it. He's got the strong hands. He brings it down. That is a touchdown for Georgia State. Again, see it from the all 22 view here. Really not much space there. DB actually plays it pretty well, but again, 50-50 balls. Like I said, I think 7 out of 10 times Ted is coming down with those. And in this matchup, he's bigger than the corner, and he definitely makes him pay for leaving him one-on-one there in the red zone. And then now we are finally on our last game here. The last one is going to be against Old Dominion. And we just got 5 plays in this one, and we'll get you guys on out of here. We're going to start off with his ability to sit in zone coverage. So I believe this is him at the top of the screen. It could be him down here, but we'll see kind of as the play starts to develop here. But um, let's go ahead and go here. I believe that's him at the top, though. Yep, that is him at the top. We'll start it just one more time here. So 2nd and 10, get an idea of what's happening here. And again, this is him at the top. Zone coverage here clearly. Gets right to the sticks, turns around, waiting for the ball to get to him. And ball is low, but he makes the catch there. And again, I do apologize for the quality here, but you kind of get the idea there. So uh, again, right at the sticks, ball's a little behind him. He goes down low, makes the catch, moves the chains for Georgia State. Now we will go on to 8-11, where he's showing off a little bit of some more route running here. Oops. Go here. All right, let's see where he's at. I would imagine top of the screen here, but not positive. Let's see. Boom. Yep, top of the screen, exactly where he was. That's a great route. Um, so again, we'll see. It looks like it's like a curl. So right at the sticks there. Again, creates the separation, gives his quarterback a window, picks up the first down, and then you see it takes 3, 4 guys to get him down there as well. So once he gets the ball, he's a tough guy to bring down, and I do think that's valuable, especially at that receiver position, and especially with someone of his size there. So he has the physicality to go along with this play there as well. So definitely something that's a positive, in bringing him in your receiver room. And then we'll go to 22-43 here, another 50-50 grab here in the game. Let's see right here. All right. So I'd imagine this is him down here. Could be at the top there. Is actually I do think he's at the top. I think this is him up there, but we'll see here in a second. Yep. So that was him up top there, right on the sideline, and again makes the adjustment on the sideline. I do think you get a better view of it from the end zone camera here. So again, not picture on the screen right now, but I will pause it right here. Boom. Clearly, not much room here on the sideline, and I do think the DB is in a great spot here as well. But Ted is tracking it the whole way here. He knows exactly how much room he has. He knows where the sideline is, and he knows that he's going to need to. And again, the ball is right here. He hasn't even shot his hands yet to go up and make the play there. So he makes it tough. He doesn't shoot those hands to the last moment there, and that makes it extremely tough for the DB to break up the pass there. And you see he's the DB's trying to fight through the ball there, but Ted has the strong hands. He has the sideline awareness as well to make sure that he gets a foot down. And this is a completion all day long there. That's a beautiful catch, Ted Hurst. Um, and I think that just kind of, encompasses everything that he has as a receiver. He has the high quality IQ to understand where he's at on the field. He has the strong hands. And then he just has like just small nuances of the game that just puts him in a position to be really successful, especially in those kinds of situations there. Now we'll show one more play. Him just kind of not giving you effort there in the run game. So 25-11 here, and he's up top here. And I could have, pulled plenty other clips of, him and the lack of effort in the run game, but I don't necessarily want to dwell on that. Again, I just want you guys to realize, what he is and just be as transparent as possible here with this. So again, this is coming play side here, and it looks like his assignment was to crack down there. And he runs down and he's, going full speed here, and it seems like you get the opportunity for a good crackback block here, but no, he absolutely whiffs, and his assignment, makes the tackle there. And again, I just think this is a lack of effort kind of thing because you can just kind of get in the way here. I'm not saying you got to lay the guy out because I understand, the flags and that part of the game is kind of being phased out there, but there's no reason why you can't put more of a body on him. I mean, he didn't trigger downhill very fast. Like this should not have been a hard block for you. Even to just get in the way, but you don't really get in the way. You don't even try and really engage him there. And, just not something I want to see there. And I think that that's where there's room for improvement. But as always, we're going to end it on a positive play here. We're going to go to 35-20, our last play in this film study here. And we're just going to see him show some elusiveness here. Believe this is him, bottom of the screen. Clearly, they're in their own end zone here, and they're on, deep in their own territory. And Ted, they run a little 3-4 yard hitch for him, and he's able to break out of that first tackle and just gives them some breathing room. So again, it's not necessarily anything special here that he did, but I think I can appreciate this though because of the reliability there. So they're like, hey, we just want to create some space here. They're playing you in off coverage. We know you have the ability to make, the first guy miss there. So just give us some cheap, easy yardage there, and we'll appreciate it. And we'll keep the drive alive there after that play. So I think that's good stuff from him. But all in all, though, that is it for this week's edition and this week's film study of Ted Hurst. There, appreciate you guys watching. Always appreciate the support, and we are another week closer to the draft officially happening here. So maybe have 3, maybe 4 more film studies this season, and then we'll get to seeing where a lot of these guys are going. Next week, not sure, not finalized yet. I have my list of who still is to come in our film studies, but not exactly positive who we're going to have next week. Probably going to try and go back to the defensive side of the ball. But you guys will see once that time gets here because next Saturday's episode will be dropping for sure on Saturday. But again, appreciate you guys supporting the likes, the comments, the shares, all that good stuff. And I will see you next week with another prospect.